Licorice Recoil is anime of the season, and honestly even anime of the year considering how good it is. Mistress, please, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, please! Oh wait, never mind, she's trash. From its lack of stock acting to its incredibly natural and flowing dialogue, and even the smaller flares in the production like every character's unique way of moving and small touches to the audio that absolutely make the show. It's easily the best anime original since A Place Further Than the Universe, and that's in part because the voice actors were allowed to go absolutely nuts to butts with the ad-libbing and have an absolute blast. And unlike MAPPA, the show itself knows exactly how to deliver on what the fans want. Oh, fuck yeah, that's what we want to see! It sets out to be a fun action movie in anime form, and it does just that whilst having great writing and a lot of passion behind the production that shows just how much the staff cared. And nowhere is that better illustrated than in episode 8 itself, where it's jam-packed with references and smaller flares, on top of expertly mixing both the comedy and serious aspects in the same episode. Which they also managed to do throughout the entire series, rather than doing what most anime would have and splitting the comedy and slice of life into the first half of the show and the super serial gun fu into the second half. The writing continues to be top-notch throughout the series, as aside from the aforementioned perfect balance, they also managed to take a very simple action style off later on, spending multiple episodes building up the main plot point of Chisato's heart and then having great emotional payoff by the end of it, alongside multiple layers of conflict that neatly tie in with one another and thus make everything feel nicely connected by the end of it. This isn't what I meant, but this is hot. It does require some suspension of disbelief with some of the feats they pull off, despite being mostly normal high school girls, but this is supposed to be a sort of love letter to action movie, so it's to be expected that it wouldn't have any one-to-one realism, especially when it's anime, and... Yes, I'm sorry, mommy. Regardless, it manages to treat the viewer as if they have some modicum of intelligence by never directly explaining the entire plot to you as if you were 5 years old. Shadow's house in Jujutsu. God, I fucking hate them. And in general, it naturally allows you to infer the obvious things that are happening on screen, though that didn't stop people from thinking Chisato and Takino were gay for each other when she showed more chemistry with the literal villain than the loose cannon, but hey, it's hot, so who cares? Likewise, people seem to think that Shinji was an awful person, and he was to an extent, but in reality, he just cared a lot about his daughter and wanted her to live a long life. If Miko was the chill Western parent that allowed Chisato to be free-spirited, then moe-eyed villain Shinji was the strict Asian parent who wanted them to do their utmost best while also still caring for them. But little do they both know that that's my fucking wife right there. That aside, the character writing in this show is excellent, specifically in the case of Mika and Shinji, who are so naturally and casually gay that I forgot straight couples were a thing for a minute. But even outside of that, the dynamics between all the characters are an absolute joy to watch, especially between Christmas Cake and Walnutsu. Their motivations for doing what they do all make sense, and to the very end, Chisato sticks to her no-kill rule to the point where the other characters are forced to save her life, much to her chagrin, wherein the gremlin then chooses to flee and be free as a result. But in reality, she was really just meeting up for our marriage. Despite building up to her potential death for most of the season, yet not delivering on it in the end, you still don't feel cheated because the whole plot was about trying to save her life to begin with. Living on her own terms was the basis of her emotional arc, and getting a new lease on life thrust upon her didn't change that, nor would seeing her die have improved the actual events that unfolded. Why would you want this magnificent creature to die, you fucking degenerate? Things like this only feel cheap when they do something like build up a dramatic sacrifice message or emotional gut punch that relies on following through with it only to chicken out, which is exactly what every key show does, but more specifically Clannad. It's emotional manipulation at its finest. Oh, that's that good shit. But outside of the plot, the care in this anime can also be seen in the animation and action direction, what with how fluid each of the fights are, to the point where it never misses a beat and still manages to look amazing despite having multiple things happening on screen at once. The OP and ED are also absolute bangers, and the decision to play the ED at the end of almost every episode is just mwah. The OST itself could use some work, but overall, it serves its purpose as being the background music to this stellar 9 out of 10. The direction was a bit clumsy at times, but the passion was present in all the smaller touches, and those really made the show. So I'm going to give it a personal 10 out of 10 for being an absolute stellar and fun show all the way through. Unless you watch the dub, because it's pretty mid, just like Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Click here for more videos, and here to give me money.